Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. XRP and limitless scale. That's what I'm going to talk about today. One of the things I'm going to talk about today. XRP on-chain, you may know, 1,500 transactions per second. But did you know that it is scalable to trillions of transactions per second? I've got a blog from Hodor. I'm going to cover that. And his blogs are always very long, and I do appreciate that, but I can't cover the whole thing as a result. But there are a few other selections from the blog I'm going to review with you as well. I've got a Twitter poll from Mr. B XRP, and he's asking, what's your strategy with XRP? So, with thousands of respondents, by the way, that he put this tweet out, thousands responded. Are you holding XRP, selling it, or buying more? So I'll cover that with you. I just found the results fascinating. And also, there's word from Thomas Lee, his belief that Bitcoin is heading to all-time highs. He's a Wall Street advisor, and I'll wrap up the video with that topic. Before we get going, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. It'll be the most productive thing you do today, maybe. Alright, so this is titled XRP Limitless Scale. Adherents of decentralized money have long visualized a future world, years hence, where money can flow as easily across the internet as information, where personal property and its disposition is guaranteed by cryptographic algorithms, not by the whims of a central authority. The first try at decentralized internet money was Bitcoin, the oldest cryptocurrency. It relies on proof-of-work competitive mining, an obscenely inefficient and environmentally destructive approach to network security. It cannot scale, having an on-chain limit of approximately 6 transactions per second worldwide. In the event that some readers don't already know it, 6 transactions per second is atrocious. Visa, a centralized payment processor, can handle tens of thousands of transactions per second, and any true globally scoped digital asset would need to be able to exceed this to be adopted as a means of high-frequency value transfer. The answer is XRP. XRP's on-chain speed is a legendary 1,500 transactions per second, but that's not what makes it scalable. It's an option called payment channels, which is baked into the protocol itself. This allows organizations to process trillions of transactions per second, if necessary, while settling summary transactions on the ledger. On top of this, ILP can work with these payment channels to process streaming XRP payments. This is the exciting future of real-time settlement. He's got 3 little bullet points here. 1, paychecks received every 10 minutes. 2, bills paid each night. 3, no need for short-term financing. While credit card companies may not like what real-time settlement will do to demand for short-term credit, ordinary citizens will benefit substantially from it, as will the world's economies. The velocity of money will increase, as will the investment cycle. No more waiting days for money to settle. As soon as money is received, it can then be used to make further purchases or to invest in something new. And only one digital asset has the championing organization that have already demonstrated this ability to scale in the wild, XRP. So what do you guys think about what Hodor has to say about that? I would love if he could flesh out this concept more of quick settlement altering the behavior of just retail consumers. Because his one concept that he wrote down here, again, it was the third bullet point of the 3 that I cited, no need for short-term financing. So I'm thinking credit cards when he says something like that, but I'm just curious. Maybe he's getting at something that just, again, like maybe he just hadn't fleshed it out yet, but I don't know why settlement, which occurs on the back end, would change the way in which people treat money. Like, why would that change payments? I don't know that would change the necessity for loans per se. I would think that buying habits would still be the same. It would just be the money moving on the back end. There would be increased efficiencies there and cost savings. And that is great. It's absolutely great. And we know what cost savings can mean in terms of cross-border transactions specifically. But in terms of short-term financing, I respect Hodor tremendously and his opinion, so I'd like to know more what he thinks about that. But I'm not currently convinced that this would eliminate the need for short-term financing, because either you have money or you don't, and whether or not it settles quickly on the back end, consumers are oblivious to that. Most consumers, when they spend something with their credit card, they consider the transaction complete, even though they still need to pay the credit card company, and then the credit card company then needs to pay the merchant to settle the transaction. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it, but maybe he'll flesh that concept out further in the future. All right, next up here, let me scroll down a little bit further here. Oh yeah, here we go. SBI Interview with Tomohiro Yamaguchi. The public face of SBI Holdings has consistently been its CEO, Yoshitaka Kitao. Like any large corporation or business, however, other executives will sometimes step in and conduct interviews, especially in coordination with other important announcements. Such was the case on August 1st, when Tomohiro Yamaguchi, an executive managing director at SBI, sat down with Chain Talk, a YouTube channel that focuses on blockchain topics, including cryptocurrency. Chain Talk asked him about his professional background as a starting point, and Tomohiro Yamaguchi responded by sharing some of his own history along with that of SBI's. He also talked about how Xcurrent was reducing costs for SBI's remittance business. What struck me as the most fascinating point, however, was that Tomohiro Yamaguchi consistently brought up the importance of linking successful business ventures with positively changing society. He mentioned this on more than one occasion. Now here's a quote. This is what Chain Talk said. The question is, Swift is starting to change things up to try and compete with Ripple. Also, Facebook just announced their Libra token. Do you think these two offer competition to Ripple? How do you see Ripple's future with these kind of things being developed? And Tomohiro responded, that's a good question. Actually, I think for Facebook or Swift, it will be good. They are trying to collaborate for the good of society. They are trying to cooperate with Facebook users to reduce costs. It's a great opportunity to collaborate for us. In other words, if we change society in terms of this area, it's very good for the next generation. And then Hodor continues. He tempered these words with an emphasis on how important compliance was to the entire process, and then covered additional topics, including competition, bank adoption, and his perspective on decentralization trends. Unlike many softball mainstream media interviews, this one by Chain Talk asked the tough questions and covered the important topics that XRP traders and long-term holders want to hear. I recommend spending some time watching this half-hour video. And I actually have not seen this yet, but Hodor is the one that brought this to my attention. I had not seen this previously, so I'm happy to report on it. I'm going to check this out myself. I do a lot of driving and always have crypto and XRP content on while I'm commuting. And so if there's something fascinating in here that I pick up after listening to this, I will be happy to share it with you also. All right, next here. So I already reported on Omni and Coinfield running their own validators, but Hodor had some interesting comments on this, so I want to read just the top portion, and then he leads into the Omni Coinfield news, which I'm not going to cover again here. I'll just flatly state that Omni and Coinfield, they're part of the XRP ecosystem, and they are now running validators. They've been persuaded to do so. They think it's good, and I think it's good for the entire XRP ecosystem. So anyway, Hodor writes, the XRP ledger does not subscribe to incentives for validator operators. Instead, the only incentive is for stakeholders in XRP to run their own validators for purposes of making the network stronger. These stakeholders include businesses that use XRP or that own a material amount of XRP. This approach, not using incentives, is predicated on the observation that most monetary rewards will eventually result, unfortunately, in a centralized end state of the network. This concept is discussed at length in a blog written by David Schwartz, Ripple's chief technology officer. Typically, businesses that use XRP in their business or applications are motivated to run a validator for practical reasons as well, such as the ability to manage the nature of all their own connections to the XRP ledger. Sometimes the two public servers that Ripple runs become overwhelmed by network requests, and it's wise to access the network through a separate means. This is accomplished if the same business decides to operate its own XRP validator to reach the network. Okay, so it's all about network security, and I'm all for this, and I have long maintained that if there is an innate value within the XRP ledger itself and the accompanying XRP digital asset native to the XRP ledger, if there is indeed innate value there, then those operating within the ecosystem, there will be those that will run a validator to secure the network. They don't need monetary returns. And so far, this has not been a problem. Conceptually, this has been panning out just fine. I understand there's been a lot of conversation over the last month or so, initiated originally by Tiffany Hayden, expressing concern that Ripple was doing the heavy lifting. But understand that the XRP ledger, it is decentralized, and even today, with a number of validators Ripple runs, they don't have any meaningful control whatsoever. They don't have control more so than any other participant within the XRP ledger system. So that's it. Then I saw this tweet from Warren Paul Anderson, Ripple employee, and he was retweeting something from Teemu Pavinen, and I'm probably butchering that as well. Teemu is somebody that I reported on in a video today. He's a creator of Equilibrium Labs, and that startup right there, Equilibrium, they're funded through Ripple's Spring Initiative. I have a whole video about that today. If you want to go ahead and check it out, feel free to do so. So anyway, Teemu tweeted out, today we at Equilibrium Labs are excited to announce that Ripple Spring has invested in Equilibrium Connect. The new company will be focused on developing the Interledger protocol. Read on to understand why Interledger and what we're doing with it. And I covered that piece that he links to already. But then Warren Paul Anderson tweeted out, I worked next to Teemu while we were building Hedgie Inc. At Boost VC. Excited to be working in parallel again on blockchain/payment network interoperability using Interledger. And I don't know about you guys, I know some people have been disappointed that not all Spring initiatives directly impact XRP, but I'm excited that the Spring Initiative invests in startups that build around Interledger, because I think that absolutely benefits the entire crypto, not just crypto asset class certainly, but XRP specifically. With Interledger protocol just being a protocol not blockchain specific, it can connect ledgers of any kind. All right, next tweet here. This is from Mr. BXRP, and he asks in a poll, which best describes your XRP strategy right now? And 44% responded, holding what I got. 40% responded, still buying. 10% responded, here crying. And 6% responded, sold all of it. So what category do you fall into? Holding it, buying, crying, or you already sold all of it? I responded with still buying because I am. And until XRP starts to run up in a parabolic fashion, I don't suppose I'm going to stop. I don't have a plan to anyway. I'm taking advantage of this relatively flat XRP price action. I'm perfectly fine with it. The things will happen whenever they happen. I'm a long-term type of guy, so I don't mind one bit. All right, here's a tweet from XRP Moonshine, and he writes, with all the built-up value in the crypto market the last while, I see XRP as a ticking time bomb. There will be an explosion in price in the short to medium term, not so much to do with the growing utility, but rather speculation, just like at the end of 2017. And I want to bring this up as an opportunity to say kudos, XRP Moonshine, because I absolutely agree with your perspective on this. You will see the price run up in XRP again, just as the asset class in general goes, and XRP moves in tandem with Bitcoin, not literally down to the second, minute, day, week, month, whatever, but it does move in tandem. So even if Bitcoin runs up a long ways and it takes, I don't care, over half a year for XRP to run, eventually XRP will run. But when it happens, we're in such nascent stages that won't be an indication of actual adoption of XRP in terms of the utility it provides for cross-border payments or any other purpose that developers are positioning to have it used for. But eventually, we'll be able to track the type of utility functions out there, because, like I mentioned in a previous video, there will be liquidity providers that are not cryptocurrency exchanges, and you can track all the ledger activity there. Those presumably would be used entirely for utility purposes, whereas speculators like you buying and selling on, for instance, Binance or Coinbase, whatever it is, that's the volume on that can be tracked as separate transactions. But I remember when I entered crypto in the end of 2017, I was so new to all this. When XRP was running up, I didn't understand that it was 100% purely speculative. I mean, I kind of got that. Well, of course, I got that XRP wasn't being used in the production version of anything at that point. But I didn't fully grasp the whole ecosystem and how it worked. And so I fully anticipate this to go on in a similar fashion. Again, there will be another parabolic run-up at some point. But eventually, when the frenzy dies down, that's when you're going to see utility take hold. And I think that a lot of cryptocurrencies will widely be used more so as a store of value. And so you could look at it this way too. When you're buying a stock, when people do that, when you buy or sell a stock, you're voting typically, this is kind of makes it too simplistic, but you're voting in your confidence in the company whose stock you're buying or selling. You're voting whether or not you're confident. Of course, sometimes even if you're confident, you just want to realize some profit, so maybe you just sell even if you are confident in them. But it's based on the performance of the company itself. That's why people buy and sell. When it comes to cryptocurrency, it's kind of similar but different in some ways. You buy if you have confidence that there is utility with the underlying asset. And so what it looks like is it's not that you buy XRP thinking that you own Ripple or anything like that because they're in the spotlight and they're the primo cheerleader for the XRP in general. But there are other developers building on top of the ledger. So the way this will look long term is that if there are multiple developers building on top of the XRP ledger, you're going to look at the whole of who's building in the space, and if that instills confidence for the longevity of XRP, then you'd invest. And so if there is increased optimism and there are new use cases, then more and more people will put money into it, which can cause XRP to increase. Even after it's way less volatile decades in the future, it could still increase in a notable fashion over time, perhaps. It may just be more in line with returns that you expect with the stock market. By then, it'll be a lot less interesting. I'm guessing, because people are very interested in the price action for good reason. I am too. I mean, I'll happily admit that this is fun for me because I have invested, so I've got skin in the game. That makes it a lot more fun. Anyway, All the Way 08 responded to this tweet, and he wrote, "I think this is very possible. But new money needs to rush in for sure. The stock market looks like an absolute mess, and it very well could push new players into the space. When you can purchase crypto on your Fidelity brokerage, you can kiss the old whales goodbye." And I agree with that as well. And I think that's one of the things that's going to be game-changing. When it's as easy to buy cryptocurrency as it is to buy stocks, that's definitely going to be a game changer. And when people that won't proactively seek to purchase within this new asset class, so they won't start buying on Coinbase or Binance or pick your exchange, when cryptocurrency offerings are available on platforms that traditionally offer, say, stocks, you're going to see a lot of new buying and selling action. So I am waiting for that. I do believe it's going to come. Matter of time. Here's a tweet from Tiffany Hayden. I thought this was fun, so I've shared it with you. She put on her LinkedIn profile that she is the CEO of XRP, just kind of like tongue-in-cheek type thing. And she tweeted out today, apparently on LinkedIn, "It's my 6-year anniversary as the CEO of XRP. I'm really enjoying all of the congratulatory messages," which I think is hilarious. Because LinkedIn, for those of you that don't use it, it prompts you to congratulate people, their anniversaries such as this. Anyway, Brad Garlinghouse responded, though. And so she tweeted about it. She wrote, @BGarlinghouse liked my tweet. Us CEOs need to stick together. And she's got the little laughy emoji. It's a good day. And that is kind of cool. I'll tell you what, if Brad Garlinghouse liked anything that I put out there, I'd kind of be flipping out. So anyway, cool stuff. All right, last piece before I wrap up the video. This is from the Daily Hodl. "Bitcoin heading for new all-time highs, says Wall Street advisor." The head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisor says Bitcoin has proven this year to be an effective hedge against global economic uncertainty. In a new interview with CNBC's Fast Money, Tom Lee explains why he believes Bitcoin is heading to new highs and proven itself to be an institutional source of investment diversification. And here's a quote from him. "For the last couple of years, Bitcoin has been correlated to U.S. dollars, so weak dollar has been good for the cryptocurrency, and strong dollar has led to a weak Bitcoin, the digital asset. It has been really correlated to risk markets. This year, it's delinked from the dollar because the dollar has been strong and Bitcoin has been up, which is a real breakage. It's gone negative on correlation to the equity markets, and now it's positively correlated to gold." And that's key. It's positively correlated to gold in terms of price action. So anyway, so I think Bitcoin is proving itself this year to be a hedge against global risks. I think that makes it an authentic institutional source of diversification. I think that's going to help it propel to new highs. And so what do you guys think? I mean, I think it's heading there regardless. All the speculative frenzy around this is nowhere near over, and I have no idea what the landscape's going to look in the coming decades, but I have an idea of what it means for XRP, and it's looking pretty good from my perspective. But that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!